All right, welcome back. 7:22 right now. Sweet 16, but you want it to be a safe 16. And guess what? Just because you're old enough to drive, maybe that doesn't mean that you should just yet. Our next guest is a top agent with State Farm Insurance. And even though she wants to sell insurance, she's the first to tell moms and dads maybe some teens should never get behind the wheel of a car, or at least wait. We are welcoming Hilda Porrata-Doria. And so you wanted to start off with some statistics, right?
Yes, Jeff, I definitely do, because I think it'll drive the point home to the viewers. So for example, in the U.S., there's an average of 10 teen crashes every single day per year. That's a lot of teens having crashes. And even though they have better reflexes than your typical adult driver, they don't have the experience.
Or the judgment, maybe, perhaps, to go with that. Which
is very important to become good defensive drivers. Another staggering statistic that I found was that in 2010 alone, there were 3,115 teens died in fatal car crashes, and about 450,000 teenagers were dramatically injured in car crashes. And those are staggering numbers.
Yeah, and it's so sad to think about that. And so in Connecticut, you can get a permit at 15, you can get your full license at 16. How does a family or parents, how do they make the, what are you looking for in your kid, in your teen, to decide, are they ready yet?
So it becomes a family, individual decision. It's a very personal one. Basically, I think parents know their teens best, and they should be having these conversations early and often, and explain to them the risks and responsibilities of driving. And especially when they become teenagers, they should be definitely making sure that they're gauging based on the responses and the feedback they're getting from their teenagers, if they are in fact responsible enough, if they truly understand all of the risks and responsibilities involved, because technically a car can be a weapon.
Of course.
And it can have dramatic effects, not just on the individual teenager, but on the family overall.
Yeah, and on other people too, who are on the road, of course, because we all share the roads. What kind of behaviors are we looking for? Are we thinking about certain maturity or responsibility levels that maybe have nothing to do with driving?
So we're looking at both of those. Some behaviors, signals that you should be looking for are they following the house rules? That should be basic. If a teenager cannot follow house rules, curfews, you know, things like keeping good grades, if they're not able to do that, then they need to be pulled back and restricted from doing some of those things, because driving takes you to another level of responsibility. And if you can't do the basic responsibilities that you were doing prior to obtaining your permit or your license, then that's a sure sign that your teenager is not ready to assume more.
Hilda, let's say your teen already has their license. Now, there are some obvious signs that maybe they shouldn't be driving once they are. But what are some of the less obvious things that might make you concerned and maybe pull the privilege?
Some of the things that I discuss with my clients on a daily basis, and that I experience as a mother myself of 2 teenagers, were, you know, if they had good grades prior to getting their permit or their driver's license, and all of a sudden, because this newfound freedom takes them out longer and distracts them from school, which should always remain a priority, that's one sign that I always look for in my kids. And I tell my clients to do the same. Another sign, like I said before, is if they start missing curfews, if they start overlooking chores, because again, they're getting in their cars and they're going to a party or after school activities. That's not going to fly. We're going to have a conversation. Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, are there ways to make that teen more responsible, and maybe before pulling that privilege, or whether you pull it or not?
So I think it's really important, just like with any other person, teenagers have to learn early on about consequences. And so I ask a lot of my clients to bring in their teenager as they're going through their licensing process, and I'll sit down in front of the computer and I'll show them things like, look at what you can pay, or what your family is going to pay for adding you on as a brand new teenage driver, and the premiums, people almost fall off their seats because the premiums can be sticker shock causing.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And then I show them side to side, if you keep a 3.0 GPA, for example, every semester, look at how much mom and dad or you, because I do recommend that you put some of their own skin in the game. And when you hit people in their pocketbook, it usually has a great effect as well.
Well, and insurance companies certainly aren't dumb, and we have to wrap up.
Absolutely.
But certainly in terms of figuring that out, if a kid who gets good grades is more likely to be a responsible driver.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. And I'm sure there's so much more. I wish we had more time. So often we don't have as much as we'd like. But Hilda, thank you very much for coming in here. We really appreciate that. And of course, for more information, you can always go to our website, WTNH.com. You can click on the on-air tab and pull down to the Good Morning Connecticut weekend section. Hilda, hopefully people will be getting in touch with you to get more answers to such questions.